Hi everyone, I'm Stan from Eagle Vision. I'm here with Andrew from Urban Commercial, and we're talking about commercial asset maximization and various strategies of what developers can do in these times when they're approaching commercial projects. So in this episode, we want to talk about development pre-leasing. So Andrew, when you say development pre-leasing, what is that all about?
Well, you could be looking to develop an industrial site, you could be looking to develop a retail site, or you could be looking to develop a mixed-use site, so residential apartments on top of, say, a group of retail shops.
And so what are some of the steps that you follow in order to achieve a successful pre-leasing campaign?
Once you've secured the site, you really have to start looking for tenants after you've obtained your approval. So, within an industrial pre-commitment, you really have to find out who has the end requirement for a certain space. It could be an industrial requirement for 10,000 square metres of industrial space with 6 metre clearance and hard stand in a certain area, in a northern industrial area. But you really have to work with the specifics that each tenant needs. If you're looking more in a retail context, you've got to really think about the footprint of, for example, the shopping centre, the anchor tenancy, if there's any common areas, malls, if any food tenant will fit really well next to another retail tenant. If you have like for example, a pharmacy within that will go really well with the supermarket. So you've really got to think about that tenancy mix, who to identify, who do you think might work really well together, and how you're going to position them next to each other within the retail development. It could be something a bit more complex, like a mixed-use development. In a mixed-use development, you typically have apartments or townhouses adjacent to or above a set of retail tenancies. You've got to be really careful in those instances because you don't want to. Well, you want to make sure that the residential tenancies have got some services that they'd work really well with. What you don't want to do is put the wrong tenant within a retail context, and you don't want it to have an adverse effect on any of the apartments up above.
And so are there any rules of thumb in that regard? So what things not to put in that might have an adverse effect?
Every development really is you got to look at it on a case-by-case basis. But when you start doing mixed-use developments, you've got to really think about the demographics within the area, as well as the services that those demographics need.
Don't put in tattoo parlour in an upmarket.
You've got to be very mindful of those sorts of things.
And so what about a case study? I think you're working on a project at the moment where you're doing some pre-leasing.
Working with V3 Development Group on the redevelopment of the Hackney Hotel. In fact, the heritage building is staying on the corner. The three-level heritage building is staying on the corner. There's some underground car parking, 30 townhouses, 50 apartments, a 70-room hotel. And then at grade, we've got about 1,000 square metres of retail. So again, we've really just got to be mindful of what services those occupants of all those residential dwellings will need on an ongoing basis. It's really good. It'd be really good for them to stay within the suburb and within the complex to have those complementary uses for them, ancillary uses for them.
And is it pretty obvious, like you'd need a cafe or maybe, I don't know, a shop? Or
Definitely, people want to wake up in the morning and go grab a coffee or something to eat before they head off to wherever they need to go. People always need, gym services, small personal trainers. They might need a remedial massage therapist. So really it's retail services as well as more food services retail. And really you're working within the constraints of you've got 1,000 square metres and you can only really chop it up into so much based on what the tenants might need. Correct, and you've just got to work with inflows, into the lobby area for the main, residential side of things. So there's a lot to be mindful of. There's more damage that you can do if you put the wrong tenant into a mixed-use development, as an example.
Sure, fair enough. Look, that's all we sort of wanted to cover in short. As I said earlier on in some of the episodes, for the facilities management, there's quite an exhaustive list of elements to be downloaded. That link will be available below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again.